What exactly is dementia? Because I was confused. I actually thought the leading condition was Alzheimer's, and you explained to me that no. Let me let you answer that question. I'll just be quiet.
Okay, so the dementia is a broader term for memory loss. So in dementia, besides memory loss, individual could have difficulty with language, like they're trying to talk and they just can't say the right word or the right word doesn't come to them.
Good morning. My name is Quentin Jenkins, better known as the Insurance Man. And today we're going to talk about a subject that many people are confused about, don't understand, and don't prepare for. One of the things that I've realized over the last 15 to 20 years of being in this career, I've learned that preparing for retirement in the stage of what if you or your family member have an issue with Alzheimer. I used to be confused about it. I didn't really know what it meant. But I understand now that Alzheimer's is actually a category that's really described as dementia. Today, we have an amazing guest with us that's going to walk us through the process and that will enlighten us on the aspects of medication and the impact of medication as we plan for Alzheimer's and the impact it will have on us and our family. I would like to welcome to the show Dr. Varshney. How you doing today, ma'am?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me today.
It's great to see you. I can tell you that since I first met you, I've been doing a lot of reading about dementia.
Mhm.
And I didn't realize, even within my client base, how many people that have struggled with it. And even more importantly, I've had to deal with it myself as related to my grandmother and my mother. My mother actually took care of my grandmother during the stages of dementia, which is is I don't know how I feel about that because the situation, depending on the severity of it, can last a very long time. I'm going to ask you about that a little bit later. But if
Sure.
you don't mind, tell us a little bit about your background and how you became interested in this field of study.
Well, I was doing my psychiatry residency, and in the residency, you see children, adults, and elderly patients. So I was very driven to elderly patients because I found working with them, A, was challenging, second was intellectually stimulating. My elderly patients, they always came with bad sack of medications, and just going through their medications and learning during training that how some of the medications that elderly taking could have side effects on their cognition, their memory, or some of their medical condition could manifest as psychiatric symptoms or effect on cognition. So I was just driven to it. So when I completed my general psychiatry residency, I completed a geriatric fellowship to get more experience in it. And I just enjoy, my work working with elderly patients.
That's interesting that you say that because, like I mentioned before, my grandmother had dementia. It wasn't what took her life, but it was a big part of her experience. And I notice when I talk to clients all the time, I have conversations with clients and they will literally have 15, 20 medications. And the thing that always blows me away is that there is no way they could be that can have a positive effect. And I grew up with a mindset that I didn't never want to take medication. I'm fortunate that I'm 56 years young and I don't have to take any medication. But my grandmother, man, every day was a regimen of these big sack of pills that she would take every day. And as I dealt with the situation with my mother, I learned that half of what she was taking was to fight the side effects of what her situation was. But I never knew that that could create a cognitive issue just on the medication that you were taking. So you never had a family member or anyone like that. You just fell in love with the seniors.
My parents actually passed away early on. So they didn't grow, my dad was 58, my mother was 66, 67. So
Oh,
then they didn't grow up to age to, develop Alzheimer's. So not a personal experience, but just working with patients a lot of these medications are essential. Like they may be blood pressure medications or heart medications, but some of these medications, what we call have anticholinergic activity,
mhm.
and that tends to cause, so there has to be a balance. They have to take their medications for heart condition or diabetes or blood pressure, but at the same time, we have to be mindful, specifically in elderly patients, about the medication side effects. They shouldn't cause more problems to the patient.
So those medications could actually cause cognitive issues. And it really makes me concerned because there are some people that I know, even in my own family, particularly my sister, when she had her first child in her mid 20s, she developed high blood pressure during that time period and has always been on high blood pressure medicine. So you have the situations where you even have children nowadays, teenagers that are taking high blood pressure medication. So does the length of time of that have a significant impact on the possibility of the side effect?
I wouldn't say specifically just the blood pressure medications, but in elderly, some of the bladder pills, some of the
Got
allergy medications like Benadryl,
it.
that tends to have a lot of anticholinergic side effects. And sometimes, patients, they just take Tylenol PM to help them
Mhm.
sleep, but that has Benadryl. And that cumulative effect of taking that
Got it.
Benadryl for a longer time can set up a state of confusion. So some of the bladder pills, some of the medications for their breathing, some of the muscle relaxants that they take, they could have, little anticholinergic side effects. So in elderly, they are predominant, but as adult, if we take Tylenol PM, it's not going to do anything, for a younger population,
Got it.
but it just has more side effects as you grow old.
Got it. Got it. For those who may not know, what exactly is dementia? Because I was confused. I actually thought the leading condition was Alzheimer's, and you explained to me that no. Let me let you answer that question. I just be quiet.
Okay, so the dementia is a broader term for memory loss. So in dementia, besides memory loss, individual could have difficulty with language, like they're trying to talk and they just can't say the right word, or the right word doesn't come to them, or sometimes other person has to come and complete that sentence for them. Along with, they also have what we call executive dysfunction, like they have difficulty balancing their checkbook or driving, or just simply cooking simple meal. So that takes a lot of planning, organizing, sequencing of steps, and you can see some of those difficulties along with their memory problems. And so dementia is like memory problems with language difficulties, with executive dysfunction, and as it progresses, they have more disorientation at with respect to time and space.
Mhm.
So, and as dementia advances more, they could have like more change in personality or disinhibition, like they may have more mood swings and agitation, those sort of things.
So I noticed I see things on television where, and even with my grandmother and my mom, sometimes does those conditions cause one to become very irritable or very aggressive. I've heard people say their grandmother, who's never cursed before in their life, started cursing and became aggressive, or they can become very docile and quiet. Is that natural from the process? What's happening in the brain to cause that?
So the dementia starts in a very deep part of the brain, and then it slowly goes on the sides of the brain. Then it goes on the back part of the brain. We call it occipital lobe. And then when the front part, the frontal lobe, is involved, is that's when you see the change in personality. The patient, the individual can become very aggressive because they don't have that disinhibition to stop them from acting out. So the later part of dementia, you do see a lot of behavioral disturbances, agitation, and things like that.
Is it a condition that's getting progressively worse?
Yes, yes, it is, depending on what type of dementia it is. It could be slow onset or it can be acute onset, and then it gets progressively worse as time passes.
Let me ask this, because many of this, those who will watch this video, the first thing I think of is there something I can do to prevent myself from getting it? Or if someone is in there's, I'm almost 60. I'm closer to 60 now than I am 50. But is there something that one can do to prevent?
Absolutely. Diet, exercise.
Hold up, time out, time out. Here we go. Here we go again. Everybody wants me to work on my belly. So you're saying that, okay, I'm gonna let you go ahead. Go ahead. I apologize.
Yeah. So diet, full of fruits, vegetables, fiber. regular exercise, very good control on the diabetes, high blood pressure, hyperlipidemia, or high cholesterol. So, controlling your medical condition, it could potentially delay the onset of the disease. So, when it comes to Alzheimer's, it is a disease of aging. As people age, that puts them at higher risk factor of developing Alzheimer's. The second most common is the family history. If you have a family history of Alzheimer's, then you are more likely to be at risk than one who does not have family history. So, family history, aging process, and education. If you have a higher level of education, that seems to be a protective factor for not developing dementia.
So is it education or just being mentally active? So for example, one who reads a lot, someone who is very involved in community, involved in church, having conversations, engaging with their
Yes.
grandchildren, being more active. Because education, I graduated with quite a few people that well, first of all, I don't know how they graduated, but they never. I don't consider to be some of the smarter people, but then there's people that I know that never even went to college that are very educated because they've constantly read, studied. But the bottom line, you saying that the higher level of education, I'm going to assume that's based upon actually using your mind, thinking. Your
Exactly. So what happens, what higher level of education does, it increases our overall brain cell reserve. So more we learn, more neurons, they're connecting to each other, and you have more knowledge. So higher education offers you higher brain cell reserve. So when dementia occurs and the brain cell reserve falls, you still have enough brain cell reserve that it doesn't affect you.
so
So
so just continuous learning really is the thing. Just continue
exactly.
to learn, to read,
Yes,
to
yes.
engage. So that brings me to one of the initiatives I'm working on right now is seniors in technology. So I've put together this program where I'm working with churches, and we have the youth of the church working with the seniors to help with some basic things like helping them understand how to create and use an email, how to use. I like YouTube because when my mother passed away, I introduced my father to YouTube, and I put him on my channel. That
Mhm.
happened to be the channel for the company that had to go create his own channel because he's watching. Every time I come up, I'm like, Pop, but it helped him a lot the other day using YouTube. Another big thing we are doing is with the transportation apps like
Mhm.
Uber and Lyft, because a part of the Medicare plans, that's what they use is Uber and Lyft, so they have to know how to use their phone. I have mixed emotions about the social media, but it's the YouTube itself. It provides them an opportunity to really learn and to be able to go to websites like AlzhaTV that we're going to talk about in a few minutes
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
really learn and to stay engaged. Now, I was reading something that was pretty interesting where it said that only in the United States do we refer to Alzheimer's dementia the way that we do. Other places, they call it the next stage of diabetes. They feel as though it has a direct connection to being a diabetic. Have you read or heard anything about that?
Yes, yes. So what happens with poorly controlled diabetes when the blood sugars are very, very low, hypoglycemic events or hyperglycemic events, they tend to cause brain cell damage. So, person who has diabetes, which is poorly controlled, or hypertension that is poorly controlled, they tend to have a lot of brain changes. They have small, not exactly like a major stroke, but they may have very microvascular damage, and that will cause interruptions in the brain circulation. So, cumulative events like this from poorly controlled diabetes, it can potentially cause them to have cognitive difficulty.
So I've heard him say that diabetes is a silent killer, and the more I talk to physicians, the more I I begin to understand. So because even sometimes if we are conscious of how we feel after we eat a certain type of food,
Mhm.
um, even for me, I'm really working on cutting back on my sugar intake. It seemed like when I have the sugar intake is up, and particularly I drink my favorite drink, which I'm only doing now very, very, very rarely. I won't even mention its name, but you get what's called a mind fog or a brain fog, where you just don't seem to be able to concentrate as well. that within itself, is that an indicator that we we shouldn't be eating or drinking those things, that it has a direct impact on our brain over time?
Water is the best drink.
I noticeably, I drink it. I'm drinking it often. I'm
Yeah.
drinking it often. I feel a lot better by doing so. So, is there a particular group other than those who may be genetically predisposition for Alzheimer's? Is there any other group of people? I was reading that African Americans are twice as likely to have dementia than their white counterparts, and that Latinos 1.5%.
Hmm.
Because I would tell you, one of the things I've learned over the last 15 years of being, I call it a healthcare advocate. I have many clients that are, believe it or not, South Asian, that are Indian, and I've noticed that between the way the Indians eat, the way the Latinos eat, Hispanics, and African American, we don't tend to have the best. We don't tend to have the best diets. We consume a lot of different food. Do you think so? Based on what you're saying, I'm beginning to think that, I hate to say it, but we're actually eating ourselves to death. Literally eating ourselves to death.
The food, kind of food you eat matters. Saturated fat, processed sugar, they almost kind of, inflammatory. So eating more fruits, vegetables, beans, that seem to be, to certain extent, fish can offer, more protective effect from the omega-3 fatty acid. They say the Mediterranean diet is the best diet, Um,
Yeah, there's a restaurant I go to that I really like. I enjoy the food, and I leave. I don't feel so heavy. Well, I'm not feeling as heavy now because I don't eat as much. So I guess me eating less is improving my overall cognitive ability. So when I come back from lunch, I'm
uh-huh.
not like, dragging. But I think I asked you this before when I was in Atlanta. Is there different forms or different types of diabetes? I mean, not diabetes, but dementia. Is
Yes, yes, absolutely. So, dementia is a broader term for memory loss. It could come from Alzheimer's. So, out of all dementia patients, about 70% patients have Alzheimer's disease. This is slow onset, gradual progression, and individual can live for another 8 to 20 years. you know so the second type of dementia comes after traumatic brain injury or stroke. That is a acute onset dementia, and that constitutes about 15% of dementias. The third type of dementia is Lewy body disease. Its onset is slow, but once it starts, it is a rapid progression. So as opposed to Alzheimer's disease patient where they live 8 years to 20 years, long interval, the Lewy body disease patient, they may live 6 months to 2 years. They just kind of little aggressive type of dementia, rapidly progressing. They have a lot of hallucinations, confusion, disorientation, and they do not tolerate antipsychotic medication. They actually get worse with it. So they have very poor prognosis. And the fourth type of dementia is from like Parkinson's disease. About 10-20% patients of Parkinson's disease in very late stages will develop dementia, or Huntington disease dementia, and other rare types of dementia, they would be like 5% of the dementias.
Well, so ladies and gentlemen, click the link. Look below. There's a link below that we'll list out those, because I know that went kind of fast, and I'm still thinking about the definition that she's given. But one of the things I've always wondered, what are the signs, or what can one observe about a family member that begins to serve as an indicator that they may be coming down with dementia?
The very, very beginning subtle sign of dementia is the individual may complain that their sense of smell is going away. We call it anosmia. Second, when the individual is talking with you, they may have a difficulty finding word or naming certain things. So if you see those subtle signs, difficulty finding words, naming, or anosmia, that is a very subtle sign. And then you can see that little forgetfulness. Now, forgetfulness can be confusing because as people age, there is something called normal forgetfulness. and something which is pathological forgetfulness. So a lot of time, we just feel like, oh, mom is just getting old, she's a little forgetful. But the normal forgetfulness, what we call, is a minimal cognitive decline. Like we were just talking about diabetes, right? Hypertension. So there is a pre-diabetic condition. There is a pre-hypertensive condition. Just like that for dementia, there is a pre-dementia condition. We call it normal forgetfulness or minimal cognitive impairment. So in minimal cognitive impairment, the patient may have subjective complaint that I'm forgetful, but then their functioning is intact. Like they're able to balance their checkbook, they're able to drive, they're able to do shopping, they're able to cook, clean, they're able to live independently. So from this mild cognitive impairment state, every 3 to 5 years, um, there is like 10 to 15% conversion into Alzheimer's. So what family members need to look at, is this forgetfulness getting worse? Is this forgetfulness affecting my mom or my dad's functioning? And if it does, then it really needs attention. So there are some, neuropsychological tests that can be done in early on stages. Nowadays, FDA has released a blood test. That blood test, it measures the direct pathological component of dementia, which is A beta 42 amyloid and tau protein. It's a ratio of these two proteins. It's measured in that blood test, and it is just released, FDA approved, to test Alzheimer's for like in population.
Do you know if the doctors have to prescribe that? I mean,
Yeah,
they have to. Okay.
they will have to order. Your doctor will have to order the blood test for Alzheimer's. Yeah.
I know that many people, as you mentioned, pre-diabetes or pre-hypertension, they start giving you medication early. Are there types of medication that people take for preventing dementia?
There is not a medication to prevent dementia or cure for dementia, but there are medication to slow down the disease process.
Okay.
So they are like disease modifying agents, not necessarily disease preventing. So what we do, someone who has mild cognitive impairment that is progressing to mild stages of dementia, uh, there are memory medications. So there are two types of memory medication. One type of memory medication will increase the memory chemicals in the brain overall. And the second type of medication, it will decrease the toxicity on the neurons. So the neurons will stop dying early. So for mild stages of dementia, uh, FDA has approved donepezil, galantamine, and rivastigmine for mild stages of dementia, and they all improve memory chemicals. And it slows down the disease process. So those individuals who are taking this medication, they may stay at home longer, and this is shown to delay the nursing home placements in dementia patients.
So, guys, you look in the description below. We'll have those medications listed. So you as a family can start researching those things and maybe talk to your doctor if your parents are starting to have those experiences. Because I remember specifically, I would blow it off with my mother. She would be talking and she just forget. It's like, she like, shoot, what was I talking about? Or she would call me to do something and forget why she called me. And my mother, she was still pretty young. I mean, she was 71 when she passed, but she was in her late 60s. Really, I began to see that more. Unfortunately, my mother and sister both had cancer at the same time, and much of that experience was during the pandemic. And as she went through her scenario with cancer, breast cancer, it seemed to get worse. She seemed to become more forgetful. So I'm going to transition into something that's very near and dear to my heart. It's probably like a 3-part question.
Mhm.
And the first part of it is, as a wife, as a child, I say child loosely, in my mind, we always children to our parents,
Yes, adult children.
adult children.
Yes.
When is it time to think about mom or dad needs to go to a facility? Because for many of us that love our parents, and I'm sure everyone does, it's a big deal for me to even think about putting my mother or father in a nursing home. I'm dealing with this. We have a young lady we're going to bring on next week. You talked to her on the phone last week, who's gone through that process. It's a very, very painful process for many people to go through. The guilt, the feeling of abandonment, and the parents oftentimes, become like little children and cry or say, "Don't leave me." But when is it time for us to really start thinking about mom or dad is better cared for in a facility?
So dementia has different phases. In in different phases, the different functioning is lost. In mild dementia stages, um, the individual can still stay at home with some supervision. But when they move into moderate to severe phases of dementia, where not only their ability to care for themselves goes down, but also it becomes dangerous for them to stay at home. The safety is the most important thing.
Yeah,
Moderate to severe phases of dementia, the individual may wander away from home, get lost in forest, or walk in the middle of the highway because there is a lot of disorientation as to time and space. Sometimes, they may be cooking at home and they forget that stove is on and something burns and sets fire in the house, or they are taking shower and the faucet is on and the house is flooded. So when the forgetfulness affects their functioning such that safety becomes an issue, that's the time is appropriate to think that now mom needs to go to assisted living facility, or now mom needs to go to nursing home placement. For nursing home placement, the number one cause for nursing home placement is the decreased self-care needs. Like in moderate to severe dementia, there is incontinence. And they forget how to bathe themselves. So when those self-care need go up and family members no longer able to keep up with it because you have your own family, you have your own children, you have a job that you have
yeah,
to attend to, and this is more than a full-time job itself. So it becomes very difficult and very painful on family members when they come at this intersection of mom's dementia getting worse and mom is not safe at home. I mean, I have had patients, they just totally forget to take their medications and
yeah,
their medical conditions are worse, or they are double doing their medications.
yeah.
And that has its own effect. So the safety is such an important, issue that really decides how do we keep mom safe? How do we keep dad safe?
As you say these things, I have to stay away from this subject because the loss of my mother is still very fresh. I'm like, I don't want to be crying on camera, but all these things are just sticking out in my head now. Like my mother, he got to my father. He would manage my mother's medication, so every
Mhm.
week he'd take her medication, put it in the pill box, and then he sometimes fight with her to take her medication. And one of the big things was sometimes she was fine with taking her medication, but other time there was like a little back and forth. But his biggest issue with her was getting her to take her medication with food. And a lot of the required food, which the doctors later said led to the situation where she developed an ulcer in
Mm.
her stomach that ultimately burst, became septic, and just a lot of different things happened with that. So it's my concern is that a lot of seniors are living alone, and many times they're not even in the same city. Like right now, one of the things that bother me the most, my father, he's a Marine, and anybody that knows a Marine, particularly one that fought in one of the wars, they're a little different. He
Mhm.
won't even consider the movie, but it bothers me that he's 700 miles away and he's by himself because not all of our family is gone. My mother just passed away, so it creates a different situation. So, what do we do in those situations when they're live so far away? You know what? I don't expect you to be able to answer that question. That's $1 million question that we're all
No,
trying to figure
actually,
out.
I want to answer this question because I have faced this with family members for last 26 years. And I'm like, how do we allow your parents to age in place in their home while you are 700 miles away? So, working with my patients, I was inspired to develop this app called AlzhaTV. And AlzhaTV, it creates a quasi home presence for the individual. With AlzhaTV, it is a smartphone app, and you can make the videos, and you can time each video when you want it to play, and you can remind your dad, Dad, it is morning time. I hope you took your breakfast, you took your morning medications, and then you can subscribe some of entertainment videos for your dad, or you can show your family members, children. So by doing that, you are increasing socialization. So if dad is living by himself and lonely, by showing all their adult kids, their grandchildren, that's gonna make dad connected back to grandkids, connect back to what you're doing every day. And also in between, we are telling dad, it's 9 o'clock, maybe go for morning walk. At 12 o'clock you can time that video saying, Dad, it's time for lunch, make sure you eat healthy lunch. In the evening you can again send a reminder saying, Dad, it's time for evening medication or night medication. So with AlzhaTV, you are able to connect dad to outside world, friends, family members. You can send reminder, encouragements. You can pretty much schedule the entire day for your dad. And the best part of it is you just have to set all these videos once. And once they're set up for a particular time, they will play for your dad on his TV on regular basis, day after day.
So I'm gonna ask you a favor. Can we do a follow-up to this where it's all about the app?
Mhm.
So the entire conversation is how the app works, how you set it up for your parents, the different features and functionality. Because if I remember correctly from what I researched, it actually makes life a lot better for the physicians and the nurses that are within the nursing home and being able to manage the care. I remember you told me once, we talked to this one of my friends who's going through this process right now, who just broke down to the point where she had to put her mother in a nursing home. Matter of fact, when she went to the doctor, they sent her mother to a skilled nursing facility
Mhm.
and basically told her she was at a state where she could not manage the care for her mother. And it managing and taking care of a family member with dementia, depending upon the level of severity, it breaks the caregiver down. I've seen, particular situations where my heart goes out in situations where there's one child, one adult child, or the other kids are not involved and one of the adult children are completely engaged, or in situations where I've seen where the adult parent, the adult child have to give up their career and move in. I have actually someone who was on my team. She was the first African American female to be commissioned from Texas A&M University as an officer, and she was one of those on the team of the people that actually built and started the internet. Worked in Silicon Valley, many years ago. Had a master's, great amazing life, and she had to give all it up to come back to Texas to look after her daughter. I mean, after her mother, and she thought it was going to be a short period of time of checking in on mom, and then about 15 years later, mom passes away after 15 years. And you can imagine what it was like. She took care of her mother for 15 years. And now
Wow.
she's older and she's dealing with all kind of emotions because in that time she wasn't dating. Body chemistry changed. She wasn't the same size, haven't had a relationship or personal situation in years. So it really does break down slowly. It breaks down the caregiver. Do you have any recommendations for caregivers and how to manage that situation? Because I have never seen anybody go into that situation that it lasted for an extended period of time. They come out okay.
Take caregiving on top of your regular work, it's like a 200% of stress. So the caregiver has to take care of themselves first, then only caregiver is able to provide the care for parent. So the caregiver must be very mindful of their diet, exercise, make sure they take care of their medical conditions, and
Yeah.
and
I've never
it's
seen that
okay,
happen.
like you cannot continuously keep take care of mom, so take little vacation from caregiving for 3 4 5 days, find some other friend to watch mom, or find some respite caregiver, or some other family member. But I guess continuous caregiving would really burn out a family member. Most of the time, if there are 2 3 children, they seem to divide that responsibility, like, hey, I take care of mom for 3 months, you take for 3 months, you take for 3 months, and then you kind of rotate. So you get time to breathe in between from the
Yeah,
caregiving
but
duties.
all siblings are not that way.
That's
Unfortunately, I've seen people come down, take control of their parents' assets, put them in a nursing home, and go back and just leave the parents here. I actually have a group that I work with where we go visit seniors in the nursing home and just spend time with them. Many of them don't have cognitive issues. Some of them do. I first started doing it many years ago at the Incarnate Word with the retired nuns. They have a place in San Antonio where all the retired nuns go. But it is heartbreaking. I mean, there's is once you hear that word, is not like cancer, but in many ways for a family, it has that same effect because at least with cancer, with many forms of cancer, there's a great chance of survival.
Mhm.
When someone is diagnosed with dementia, am I incorrect in saying that it is never going to get better? It's only going to get worse.
Alzheimer's is a degenerative disease and it is progressively getting worse. And the medications we have, they only slow down the disease, but it doesn't stop the disease.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I told my friend that she was going through the experience. Actually, she's going to be on the podcast here in the next couple of weeks. She has to get to a state of mind where she's comfortable talking because, like I said, she's just had to put her mother into the facility. She cries all the time. She feels bad. It's a man. It's a tough deal. And there's two things I wanted to talk to you about in particular. In your opinion, how equipped are most nursing homes or facilities? When I say equipped, I don't just mean with the right technology, the right medication, but also the right level of compassion and care. Are they to be able to properly take care of dementia patients? Is there a checklist? Can we create a checklist for our viewers to say, okay, these are the things you need to look for in a facility that if you're considering taking your parents to a nursing home or assisted living, they have dementia. What should we be concerned about? What should we look for? And do you think most nursing homes are prepared to deal with that?
I think almost all nursing homes, they have a dementia unit for Alzheimer's patients in severe stages who have tendency to wander away. So if parent has Alzheimer's and tendency to wander, I would make sure that nursing home has a dementia locked unit so she is safe and she's not going to wander away from that facility. The second, almost all nursing homes, they have several different units to take care of patients in different stages of cognition. Like there are people who just need rehab after hospitalization, so they have a rehab unit. Then they have patients with dementia who don't have any behavior, agitation, or wandering tendencies. So they will have an open dementia unit because these patients don't have those safety risk behaviors. And then I would make sure that they have a dementia locked unit if my mom or dad always have tendency to wander away from home and get lost. In that case, they are properly monitored and supervised. So each nursing home, the dementia unit I go to, they have about 40 patients. It's locked unit. They have adequate nurses on the floor. They have two floor nurses. They have four CNAs, and they take great care of patients. We also, are able to send messages to family members. Every shift, the CNA nurse, they send messages to family member about how they did on morning, afternoon, how they're doing on afternoon, evening, how they're sleeping at night. So we keep family updated. So it kind of, having a great communication between family, the staff at nursing home or assisted living, and the family member and the patient, it really is very important and vital for continuing the care of mom or dad at the nursing home. So right now, nursing homes have staff, they manage the medications, they have some activity groups. The activity therapist will come on the dementia unit, do some activities for them. But I feel like the nursing homes need more, where
Yeah,
there is
because
a
what you're saying,
continuous line of communication
yeah, that's
between, the patient, the staff, and the family member to keep up with the care of their mom or dad.
so, ladies and gentlemen, what she described is the facilities that she works at. I don't see that as being the norm. I mean, I've been in amenities, and again, we go visit people that are in these conditions, and we even have issues with just turning the patient. It's just them that are not mobile. So there's a lot of things that happens there. So what you described is the excellent care,
Mhm.
that facility that you are. I can't say that I've seen that as a norm, which makes me more excited talking about the AlzhaTV app, because what I've seen from that, guys, this thing is so cool, because she was showing me where, say that your parent is in a facility and they're having issues with your parents taking their medication. You literally can, within the app, and it goes to their television. So the first thing I was like, my dad, half the time, my father doesn't know where his phone is. I'm calling, and trying to get to the neighbor. Where's my dad? What's going on with my dad? And he don't left his phone. He don't even know what his phone is. But one thing I think is really great about the app is actually on the television, and that it repeats, and it does. So you literally, the daughter or the grandkids or whomever, at any time of day they chose to do so, they literally can send a video message to their parent. So think about one of the solutions. Think about you live in, say, up north somewhere, and your parents are here in Texas or in Georgia. You literally could, and your mother is in that type of unit. You literally throughout the day can check in and send your mother messages to help her through the transition that she's going through, particularly when you have grandkids and they're doing things like that. If correct me if I'm wrong, you even told me that the app can be prompt at a certain time to have a video come up of their grandchild or of their child saying, "Grandma, it's time to take your medication. How are you
That's
doing today?" Is that is
Yeah.
that is that true?
Yeah. So basically, family can send the videos to encourage their grandma to take medications, because, see, this is a digital platform. So if the nurse is sending message saying, encourage your loved one to take medication, then the family member can make the video for parents saying, hey, mom, you really need to take the medications, or you need to eat well or take adequate fluids. So when that video is seen by, your mom at the nursing home, she's going to get encouraged to eat well or take medication. And also just seeing the grandkid pop
Yeah.
up on the TV, say every 15 minutes, every 30 minutes, it just makes my patients so happy. And sometimes they don't
Man,
even realize that they're not
that's
home. And
incredible.
they will actually have a conversation with the grandchild after grandchild said something, or they'll be giving like a flying kiss to the grandkid. And
Wow.
it's just so
That's
soothing
pretty
to
cool.
see. It is so comforting for them. And we make our patients more resilient, because our patients, they remember things from long term,
That's what I was gonna
right?
ask you next.
So, we show the music from 50s, 60s, 70s, movies, TV shows. So they remember that and they are engaged in watching it. Or we will have family videos, which we will show them every 30 minutes. But my patients don't even remember they saw that video 30 minutes ago. So if that video comes on the TV, say 50 times a day, that many times you get those chuckles and giggles and laughs and flying kisses, and
You know,
and my residents have great time. They are so resilient. They don't have depression, they don't have behaviors. When I specifically took this nursing home, almost 47% of the residents, they were on antipsychotic medications. 60% residents were on antidepressants, and 20% patients, they were on the class called nerve pills. So 1 year later, I only have 2 or 3% of patients on antipsychotics or nerve pills, and our antidepressant use
wow.
came down to almost like 20%.
So you take them off these medications. What do these medications do to them? Because I
So
know.
these medications are antipsychotic medications they were on, and they were given for their repetitive behaviors, agitation, irritability, sundowning. But when we started Alza TV for my patients, and we started keeping all our residents engaged, they see their family, we show them Sunday church services, we take them to places where they grew up, where they went for high school, their church. We show them National Geographic videos of seven wonders in the world. We'll show them movie from 50s, 60s, Elvis Presley, music albums. And our patients are so happy. And when they're happy and resilient, they don't have behavior, so they don't need the medications for behavior.
So imagine this. Imagine some things are popping in my head about community involvement in those situations. So imagine if the churches, the religious organizations, the synagogues, the mosques became more involved in this process, and as they have members of the church, that could be a ministry within itself, to where other seniors and members of the church, like they were part of a choir or Sunday school or whatever. Imagine churches getting together and putting together sequences of videos and had on rotation, that you're actually sending that from the places of where they spent their time, because many seniors often do transition from work to getting more involved in those type of spaces. Imagine when it's time to take the medicine and they had a great grandchild, a grandchild, or just grandchild period, eating their food. Grandma, it's time to eat. Will you eat with me? Those type of things encourage them to eat.
That is
Grandma,
amazing.
I don't feel good today, Grandma. I gotta take my meds. Did you take your meds today? Let's do it together, Grandma. You ready? Okay, I'm gonna give you a chance to find your medication, and we're gonna take it together. Let me know when you're ready. Just imagine that kind of stuff, man. It's pretty powerful, because I go to these units, guys. I see it, and it breaks my heart to know that there are people there that no one ever calls them. No one comes to see them. Unfortunately, all parents-child relationships are not the best. There's unresolved issues there. I'm really looking forward to getting into talking about that on another time, where we're gonna go into a deep dive. In that, if you don't mind, bring everything that's needed, and I'm gonna be there, and I'm gonna make a decision. So what we're gonna do is that we're gonna commit to subscribing for someone that's in that condition, that situation, that has limited resources, and we'll pay for it. Our organization will pay for it, and we'll go through the process of setting it up, getting it going, because I think it's incredibly impactful. I'm actually going to go to the insurance companies and introduce this, because it's something it's a manageable cost. It's not overwhelming in cost, that they should offer to their members. Period, because there's so many ways to communicate through the app, to be able to get messaging out all at one time to members about certain types of things with their benefits, with their medication plan changes. It give you ability to get in their hand. Now, we've mentioned these services within the context of a nursing home. Now, let me ask you this. This is the real question. How much does it cost on average to be in a nursing home? Because for many people, the financial, and I'm going to say burden, the financial burden of being in a nursing home is pretty expensive. My friend, she's in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and the nursing home her mother is in is $9,000 a month, and she can't sustain that.
It is a lot. It could cost $9,000 to $10,000 based on, every month based on your location. The rural areas, the cost may be less, but urban areas, it may be very high. So a lot of time they have to exhaust all of their assets,
And
like
that's
their
the thing.
house and everything they have, before they're eligible for Medicaid. And most of the patients at the nursing home, their reimbursement source is Medicaid. But before they are eligible for Medicaid, that individual will have to exhaust all of their assets.
So this is going to bring me to a point, guys, and I'm going to come full screen with this. I really want you to hear me this. So down below, there's going to be some information about a series of seminars that I'll be doing in the fall that relates to how do you prepare for yourself and your parents to transition into a nursing home or assisted living, or better yet, keep them from having to do that. There are certain things you can do financially in terms of insurance that will give you a much better chance to supplement versus having to pay for outright. I say I would rather manage my parents' care than they have to provide their care. And there are tools that allow you to do that. I'm 39 years older than my daughter, and I don't want to have to even think about the fact of her having to take care of me someday. So I purchased a plan that provides me with $6,000 a month. $6,000 a month. So you take that 6,000 in conjunction with my resources, my Social Security, my investments and assets. So it'll better protect her to be an overseer. But we got to think about, and this is a question I'm gonna bring to Dr. Varshney next, is what if you can't afford it? What if your parents' Social Security, your parents, you have the houses. I mean, the things that the parents intend to transition to their grandchildren or to their children. What if they can't afford? What if they can't afford that? What if the family cannot afford to put their mother at a nursing home? Can they, like the emergency room, they can just take and drop them off and leave them?
Emergency rooms, they probably keep them for a few hours or days, but they eventually gonna find some nursing home to take them. And once they are in a nursing home, they typically, check into what resource payer for their stay.
Say they don't have one. I mean, they have no money. They
No
have no
money.
money. They're not on Medicaid. They have to say, for example, their monthly income from Social Security is all they have. Let's just say that's $1,700, $1,500 or less. That's all they have. They don't have a home. They may have a car. They have no money. If they have no money and they have dementia in
Mhm.
a progressive state, what happens to them?
So when they get into nursing home, the social services at nursing home, they will apply for their Medicaid application. And down the road, when the Medicaid is approved, they will pay the nursing home retro from the day patient was admitted.
Okay, say that they get put in a nursing home and the person's getting has $2,000 a month in Social Security. They have a little bit of money in the bank, and they own their home. And let's say that one of their kids is staying in the home with them. What happens then?
I think they have to exhaust all of the assets that are in the
You're exactly right.
patient's name, and then
Exactly.
only Medicaid will start paying for the nursing home stay.
And I know that to be true.
And it's not unusual to see it may take a year or two before they are approved for Medicaid.
Yeah.
And eventually, they will pay the nursing home retro.
Yeah. So, guys, if want to be clear, I've seen this a gazillion times. Like people will try to say, "Oh, mom and dad have dementia, or they have these issues," and they put them in a nursing home. They try to say, "Okay, before we do that, let's transfer our parents' assets. Let's transfer the house to us. Have the parents sell it to us." There's a 5-year look back on those things. A 5-year look back. In order for them to stay there, you're going to have to come up with those resources and to pay for it. So a lot of people I've seen lose their home. Now, if you have a spouse staying in the home, you should be okay. The spouse will be able to stay there, but once that spouse passes away, that house, they're coming for it. I mean, I have family members go through that. I have clients that go through that. It's a tough situation. So on top of the dementia, do the patients have situations with depression, high anxiety? What's happening mentally with them in conjunction with the?
So the dementia comes with a lot of neuropsychiatric symptoms. The patients with dementia, they have apathy, indifference, like they just be sitting all day and nothing interests them. They may be very depressed because to a certain extent, they are aware that they don't remember. They don't want to be embarrassed in front of people because they can't put the words together, or they don't remember who this person is. So they will isolate and just stay home. The memory problems also increase very high anxiety. Just imagine you are in a shopping mall, you bought a bunch of stuff, and in the process, you left your wallet somewhere. And now, you are in a food
Yeah,
court and you want to pay for your food and you can't find your wallet, and you're going to have a panic attack.
yeah.
So imagine individual with dementia who has memory problems, how much anxiety they have just because they don't remember. So there is a lot of depression, anxiety. We also see a lot of sleep disturbances, appetite disturbances, behaviors, wandering, agitation.
So the whole
The
world just comes apart, basically. It is
exact.
everywhere they turn, there's an opportunity for something to anybody. If you're perfectly, I don't mean to disrespect, by the way, by saying sane, but if you're perfectly sane, those type of things by themselves would agitate you, irritate you, frustrate you. I mean, I've left the house many times and left my wallet. That's why I was so grateful that they put everything so I can just use I
Oh,
can use my phone to pay for things. But it's because you get so active, you're doing so many things, and you're not paying attention to the small things because you're thinking about other things. I'm sure all of us have done that. Driving, don't even know how you got there because your mind was on something else. So basically, someone with dementia, their lives are just turned completely upside down, and the families is too. So let me ask you one more question for today, if you don't mind. And again, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy, busy, busy. I can't even say work-life balance because every time I talk to you, you're working, whether you're at home or at work. I know that feeling. But what advice would you give to families who are adjusting to this journey, where they're just starting to notice those issues,
mhm.
or they've just placed their parent in a nursing home? What recommendations would you give them as to how to manage this new stage of life?
So, first of all, most important thing for the loved ones who are starting this journey for their family members, while their loved one is still somewhat cognitively intact and somewhat able to communicate back and forth, the most important thing, you want to make sure you have advanced directives that gives the healthcare provider directions on in situation where they are not able to swallow food. Do they prefer tube feeding through stomach, or they just let let go, they don't want feeding tube? Or if they have a situation where they are on life support.
I just want to make sure I'm clear.
Mhm,
So we need to think that far ahead that even though everything is okay now,
mhm.
these are the type of things. So you nearly need to make a checklist or a list basically on how you want things to flow if and when it gets to this, and this. How do we even think of that? I mean, I don't. If you if I was taking my parents to that type of situation, and you asked me for advanced directives, I'm gonna like, what is that? I mean, why?
It is a document. It's available with your primary care physician. And I recommend everyone in their 60s, because life takes unexpected turns. You never know. So you ask your primary care physician that I want to do my advanced directives, living will, and that document becomes part of your medical record.
Mhm.
So, in case, your parent is hospitalized, that document can be transferred to hospital paperwork and it stays as a hospital document, because we want to respect
Mhm.
the will of, you know, our parent, our loved one. And the best way to do is ask them all these things before they go way into advanced stages of dementia, where they are so forgetful or their language functioning is so far gone that they are not able to communicate. And at that point, I have had family members, they are so torn apart because they don't know what mom wanted.
You
They
know,
don't know whether they are respecting their mom's wishes.
I'm fighting the emotion right now because we just went through
Uh-huh,
that with my mom, and my parents have that. I'm very grateful. I was there
uh-huh,
when the day I had just flown in. The day I flew in, she passed away the next day. I spent a lot of time just sitting there holding her hand, and they were going to transfer her to another hospital
mhm,
by air flight.
mhm,
So I went to get my things to prepare to drive to Pensacola, Florida, to meet them there. And after I left, I would say, "Hey guys, are we you ready to go yet?" Just getting direction. And during that time, I'm so grateful that I had to leave because during those time, just in that 30-minute time frame, things got very bad when they started trying to prepare to move her. And my dad had to, over that next couple of hours, my dad had to make a decision because some things happened, and they said that past this point, this is how she will be. And both my parents have been very clear to us and in writing that if things get to this point, let us go.
mhm.
Even to the fact, my dad, I was talking to him last week. He said, "Okay, son, everything is in this place. This is all the documents. The key is here. All my instructions, is laid out. He has the will, has the trust, all those things in place." So that advanced directive that you were speaking of, you'll be surprised how many people don't have those things in place. Something as simple as a will. I was talking to one of my buddies last week. His mother owns 6 rental properties, plus her property, all these different assets. And for some reason, particularly unfortunately, those in the African American community think so negatively, talking about when that time comes. It's going to come. So I encourage everyone to get with your parents, have those tough conversations. And I know that particularly they're military and they're older sometimes. You know who it takes? It takes their daughter. It takes their daughter to have those conversations with the dad to get him to get him
And also
to
important part is power of attorney or durable power of attorney. So in case if they lose capability of making decision about their health, then the durable power of attorney will kick in and they will be able to make the decision, or power of attorney will be able to make the decision, because um, if that's not in place, the different states have different rules. In state of
You're right.
Georgia,
You're right.
next of kin, like their child, can make the decision.
Mhm.
um, but look it up, your state rules and what is required. But having durable power of attorney or power of attorney for health would also leverage family members to be able to make the decision. And if you have had those tough conversations with your parents ahead
Yeah.
of time, it will be easy on you, not second guessing
Yeah.
what mom would have done in this situation, what dad would have done this situation, and then not knowing if this is what they would have wanted, and then carrying over that guilt.
Right.
It is a lot. It is a lot.
My parents were married for almost 60 years. Anyone knows me, I talk about my mom and dad a lot. And losing my mother in the last 7 months, it's been a lot to adjust to. But they had conversations with us. He said, look, if we get to this state, put us in a facility. And I'm like, no, no, I'm not doing that, not doing that. And I was younger, so my mother felt differently. She said, well, I took care of you. You're going to take care of me when I'm old. And then she had to do it for my grandmother when she was 55. She had to do it for my grandmother. And she said, no way. She said, no way do I want my children or grandchildren to have to go through this process of taking care of me. And they put it in writing. I mean, they put it in writing as a part of their will, as a part of their advance directive. They put those things in writing saying, if we get to this, do this. This is what we want. We are
Mhm.
sound mind and body. We're telling you now, this is what we want. So I'm very, very grateful that. So guys, we we want to thank Dr. Varshney. She's going to be back several times. You're actually going to make her a regular on this show because what this today has shown me is that there are many things that's a part of this process of dementia that needs to take place. We want to dig into the details of resources like AlzhaTV. We're going to get into that in depth so that you can understand if you have a parent that's in that situation, um, or possibly can be in that situation. If you have friends in that situation, then we can provide you some tools and support so everyone, not just from your immediate family, but your extended family, from their friends to the church to whatever social organization they were part of, that they can do to help support your family in that process. Because I tell you, it's not a simple thing to do. I've included Dr. Varshney's email address. But I'm going to ask you to contact us directly. Follow us on YouTube at The Insurance Man, at Quentin, The Insurance Man, and we'll help direct that because the reality is I don't want her email to be bombarded with these type of things. We would rather sift through them because she is extremely busy. I've been to the facilities and just amazed by the work that she does. And the fact that she cares so deeply for people without having to experience it herself. She was just given, for lack of a better way of phrasing it, God just gave her a heart for for older people who have these experiences. But what it has shown me, there's many things that I want to address directly and give you tools, tips, and resources to follow up on so that you can make sure that you are prepared for the family and in the transition of your family. So, with that being said, I want to thank you for attending today, but I also want to create a reminder. You know, our parents are not going to be here forever. None of us are. So, it's very important that we have a two-way street where the relationship is being built. Where go to your parents if there's something they've done that you're still upset about, or vice versa. Work on those relationships so that as your parents age, as your parent. The same thing with your siblings. I just lost my sister at 51 years old. I always told her that my sister, they were going to take care of me when I was old. I said, when you're old and rich, I'm going to build you guys a big house on my property. You're going to live around me. You're going to take care of me. I'm going to live to be 105. So you guys have to live at least be your mid 90s. But take the time to really work on those relationships, sibling, um, parents, forgiveness, because these are serious issues that come about that we must address. And we want to be able to do them without any animosity or anger in our hearts and to be prepared for what life is going to really bring to us. Because at some point, we are going to have to say goodbye. So, again, thank you for tuning in today. We look forward to talking to you in the future. God bless you and have an amazing day.